You're Not Listening by Kate Murphy. The ancient philosopher Epictetus said that nature had given man one tongue and two ears for a reason, so that one might hear another twice as much as one speak. Hi and welcome to the Booklab. I'm Bjorn, and this is a place where we bring you the best book recommendations when it comes to philosophy, psychology, human nature and human potential. And today we're talking about You're Not Listening by Kate Murphy. And if you read books about negotiation, persuasion, communication, these books usually have a chapter dedicated to the art of listening, but it's often a topic that it's glanced over. So when I found out about this book and that it's fully dedicated to the topic of listening, then I felt like I just had to pick it up. This book, it tackles questions about why we might overlook the art of listening in modern society and what we can do, you and I, to become better listeners. Quote, "Bad listeners are not necessarily bad people," end quote. Not everyone has the skill, and in a way we have been conditioned not to listen. When our mother and father screams at us, listen, we don't like what's coming next. And when you hear a coach or a trainer shout, listen up, then you know that what comes after is a bunch of rules and restrictions. And we also inherit how we listen to some degree. Quote, "We tend to listen as we were listened to as children." Many caregivers ignore their children in favor of their phones. This impoverishes the children's development, which suggests that the generation, the so-called screen generation that is now coming of age, might struggle to connect with other people. Social media might also play a role in why listening only plays a supporting role in conversation these days. On social media, we are rewarded with social proof for what we say, and we're usually rewarded for how much we say and how often we speak our mind. Listening is not even a thing in the quasi-dialogue of social media. If a person is not interesting, then it's on you. When you leave a conversation, you should ask yourself these three questions. What did I just learn about this person? What was most concerning to this person today? How did this person feel about what we talked about? Quote, if you can't answer those questions, then you probably need to work on your listening. My main takeaway from this book is about conversational narcissism and the shift response versus the support response. The book describes two kinds of responses in conversation, a shift response and a support response. The first shifts attention back to yourself. The second supports the other person's comment. I'm so busy right now. And me too, I'm totally overwhelmed. I'm so busy right now. Why? What do you have to get done? Good listeners is all about the support response. Many people might be bad listeners because they actually have bad hearing, and the brain is going through all kinds of hoops and works in mysterious ways to compensate for the fact that you're not actually hearing things. Quote, hearing loss in the long run leads to a litany of poor emotional and societal outcomes, including, but not limited to, irritability, negativity and anger, fatigue, stress, tension and depression. It can lead to avoidance or withdrawal from social situations, reduced job performance and earning power, diminished psychological and overall health. This is not solely because of hearing loss, but it might be a result of the loss of connection that it might bring. If you're like me, consume a lot of audiobooks, then this one might be interesting. Quote, research suggests that people who listen regularly to fast-paced speech, they have general difficulty maintaining attention when addressed by someone talking normally. This might actually explain why I get easily irritated when I'm doing the dishes and I'm listening to an audiobook at 1.7x speed and I get interrupted by my wife or my children, and of course compared to the narrator going on in my ear, my family sounds really slow in comparison. This is a very practical book, and one thing that is very important when we read books like this is that we actually take action on what we learn. So I wanted to share how I implemented this book. And I started with something very fundamental, the idea that actually bad hearing might be a cause for you being a bad listener. And I know I have some tinnitus symptoms, and I thought maybe I should actually check up my hearing, because I'm not sure where I'm at. Maybe it's declining. And if I know that early on, then I can do preventive measures to keep my hearing for as long as I live, right? So that's how I implemented this book. I checked up my hearing and see if I have any problems. So I'll start from there. The tests were way more thorough than I expected, and I wasn't expecting this, and it's kind of emotional in a way. I had some issues, nothing alarming, and I don't need any hearing aids or anything, but there are some areas where I have impaired hearing, and yeah, so I guess this little implementation of the book, You're Not Listening, led me to some new insights about myself, I guess. So what I can do now is just protect my hearing. Why do I have this thing on? They don't know what caused it. I had a few ear issues as a child, so there might be some as a result of that. It could also be concerts, because I've not been wearing any earplugs when going to concerts. It's harsh to get old. I've been diagnosed with impaired vision and hearing. Both things happened within a 6-month time span. What happened to my immortality? This book gave me some really practical ideas to implement. The shift versus support response was one of my big takeaways that I'm practicing now. But it was not a super memorable book at the end. I think if you ask me in a couple of years about this book, I would be like, what books was that? I think for me, the value will be if I really take these concepts that I've learned from this book, and there are a lot of good ones in here, that will bring me a lot of lasting value. So it's up to me now to remember to practice all these listening skills and become a better listener. But as for the book, it's maybe it's because it's a little bit too broad. It doesn't have a clear focus that makes it forgettable in a way. I think it's worth picking up if you're interested in the topic of listening, if you have people around you that struggle with listening, or you yourself need a little boost in that area, then this is definitely a book worth checking out. I want to share a sneak peek of some upcoming books that I'm reading that will be up for review very soon. But before that, smash the subscribe button if you're not subscribing, and press the like button. It really helps me reach more people with wonderful books, and I really think reading great books will make the world a better place. So please do that. That would be awesome. One of the next books that I'm starting is Transcendence, The New Science of Self-Actualization by Scott Barry Kaufman. This book, I have very high expectations for this, but I know very little about it. Another book that I'm reading right now is The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt. I'm listening it on audio. It's mind-blowingly good. It's one of those books that really shifts some fundamentals ideas about human nature for me, so I'm really looking forward to sharing those ideas with you. Other than that, I also wrapped up Among the Thugs by Bill Bufford, I think his name was. This is about football hooliganism, and I have a review coming up in a week or two. This book is something else. This guy, he infiltrates like football supporter clubs, unofficial football supporters clubs, who are famous for their violent behavior, and he tries to understand why we act in certain ways when we become a part of a crowd. This book it's phenomenal. I will share more very soon, and this is it from me. See you next Thursday for more book reviews. Have a good one. Bjorn out.